In this video, I'm going to tell you 3 real and terrifying stories that happened to people while they were at work. These are true horror stories that took place during their night shifts, where something truly disturbing happened. In 2019, Emily was working the night shift at a small hotel in Chicago, USA. One night, she received a call from one of the rooms. "Hello. Hello," Emily answered. The line was active, but no one replied. At first, she thought it was a wrong number and ignored it. A while later, the call came again. This time, to her horror, she could hear heavy breathing and faint whispers before the line suddenly went dead. Emily was puzzled by the repeated and strange calls. She decided to check the hotel system and the room, only to discover that there were no guests in the room. It was completely empty. The feeling of doubt and unease grew stronger with every passing second. She considered going to the room herself, but as she hesitated, she noticed something on the security cameras. A figure was standing at the door of the room, its back turned to the camera. Summoning all her courage, Emily decided to confront the mystery. She slowly made her way up to the room. But to her shock, there was no one there. Confused and terrified, she rushed back to the security monitors and froze. The figure was still standing there, perfectly motionless, just outside the door, as if mocking her. Panicked, Emily immediately called the police. When they arrived, however, there was no trace of anyone, no footprints, no shadow, nothing. Mark was working as a food delivery driver for one of the delivery apps in 2021. One night, he had just finished his last order and was on his way home, when suddenly, the app sent him another delivery request worth $40. The location was very close to where he was, so without thinking twice, he accepted the order. However, something strange caught his attention. The delivery instructions said the drop-off location was parking level 2. Mark frowned in confusion. It was already 2:30 a.m. He quietly muttered to himself, "Who would be waiting for food in a parking garage at this hour?" But then he remembered the $40, so he decided to go anyway. When he arrived at the location, he called the phone number listed in the order. The first time, no one answered. He tried again, and again, but there was still no response. Curious and slightly uneasy, Mark decided to go down to the parking level himself to see what was going on. As he stepped into the underground parking garage, he immediately felt that something was wrong. The place looked completely abandoned. No cars, no people, no movement, just silence. After a few moments, Mark heard slow footsteps behind him. He froze in place. For a few seconds, he couldn't move. Then he slowly gathered the courage to turn around and look. There was no one there. At that point, Mark was terrified. His heart was racing. He decided to simply place the order on the ground and hurry back to the elevator. But as he turned toward the elevator, he suddenly saw a figure standing at the far end of the parking garage. The person was just standing there, staring directly at him. Mark assumed it must be the customer. He shouted toward the figure, telling them that their order was on the ground. But the person did not respond. Not a single word. Thinking the customer might not have heard him, Mark slowly started walking toward the figure to hand over the food. As he approached, his phone camera was still recording. When Mark looked at the screen, he noticed something deeply disturbing. The person's body was barely visible, almost blending into the darkness, but their eyes were clearly visible, staring straight at him through the camera. The moment Mark realized what he was seeing, panic took over. He immediately ran back to the elevator as fast as he could. The next day, Mark checked the order again in the delivery app, only to discover something even stranger. The address didn't exist in the system at all. To this day, Mark still has no explanation for what happened that night. Ryan was working alone on the night shift at a small gas station in New York, in an area that became almost deserted at night. Only a few customers would come in during the late hours. One night, while Ryan was restocking the shelves and checking the electronic payment system, a person entered the station. There was something very strange about this person. He just stood in a corner of the store, staring directly at Ryan. A chill ran down Ryan's spine. He felt goosebumps all over his body. He tried to speak to the customer. "Can I help you with something?" But the person didn't respond at all. Ryan thought to himself, maybe this guy is crazy, or one of those food delivery customers messing around. So he decided to ignore him and continue his work. Minutes passed, and the person was still standing in the corner of the station, silent, without moving. Ryan felt like the eyes in the shadows were following him. Then he heard soft footsteps behind him. He turned quickly, but there was no one there. With each passing moment, Ryan's sense of dread grew stronger. He could hear a faint whisper of wind through the vents, and occasionally a rustling sound between the shelves. Ryan decided to cautiously approach to see who it was. Suddenly, he noticed that the person vanished from his sight, only to reappear on the security camera, standing there, staring at him as before. At that moment, Ryan's heart began racing uncontrollably. He tried to shout, but his voice sounded weak in the silence of the station, as if the place absorbed every sound. Then he saw something truly disturbing. Only the eyes of the person were visible on the camera, the rest of the body blending into the darkness. Ryan felt as if something unnatural was watching him from the shadows. He couldn't move, couldn't think. All he could do was run to the door as fast as he could. The next morning, Ryan reviewed all the security footage. He noticed something extremely strange. The person only appeared for a few seconds on the cameras and was nowhere to be seen in the station physically. When he checked the customer records, he discovered that this mysterious customer was never registered. To this day, Ryan has no explanation for who this person was, why he only appeared at night, or how he could vanish completely. Welcome to the first video on this channel. Here you will find true scary stories from real people. If you enjoy horror, you're in the right place. Let's begin.